ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here again for another Oilers Live Tuesday. We've got a pretty exciting episode tonight. I've got a few guests coming on tonight. We've got Ryan Lotsberg, current contributor at the newly launched Heavy Hockey Network. We've also got Mr. Dash. We just call him Dash in the Park. At Dash in the Park, he's from the Straight Off the Pipe podcast. He'll also be doing a few articles on the Heavy Hockey Network. And Mr. Mike Dursa from Straight Off the Pipe podcast. And I think he's doing a couple articles I just heard today. So lots of exciting news. If you didn't hear, Nick Suzuki signed 8 years, $7.875 million or something like that. I feel like Brady Tkachuk's going to be asking Connor McDavid money anytime soon. And probably the biggest news of them all is the NHL season has officially started. We're nearing the end of the first period. Pittsburgh and Tampa Bay. I won't tell you any spoilers other than it's tied and nobody's scored. So, all right. So, here's the three guys that you guys all been waiting to see. Dash, Dursa, and Ryan. Welcome to the show, guys. Here's your cue. You can say hello. You can say whatever the hell
I'm
you
just
want.
stunned by that dirty water Boston Red Sox hat. I have no words for Dursa right now. Thanks for wearing your baseball hat on a hockey podcast.
Yeah, you're kind of just stunned like the Tampa Bay Rays were last night when we took them out.
This takes hot. Thanks for having us, Michael. We'll try to behave.
Yeah. Hey, it was a good episode. Everybody, good night. We're going to do, so tonight with these three beauties here, we're going to do a little bit of a season preview. We got some questions that I've given them already. We're going to run through those questions. Each of them is 30 seconds. They'll be on the clock to discuss their answer or say whatever the hell they want. They don't have to use up the full 30 seconds. I suspect Dash will probably try to go 45 every time. Ryan's a writer, so he'll probably try to keep it concise. And Durst, well, we never know what we're getting from him. So let's just let's just hope it's a lot of fun. I'll give my commentary throughout the night, and we're gonna have a little bit of fun here tonight, guys. Any thoughts before we begin, or you guys just want to jump right into it?
Let's get at her. Just drop the mitts.
Get after it.
All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with the team questions tonight, and we're going to get Dash to start first. So, Dash, and this everybody else will get their chance at this. Your pick for the Atlantic Division. You're on the clock.
I think it's tough to go against what Tampa Bay has done in the last few years. So I can see them maybe petering out in the playoffs, but still having a strong enough regular season. So Boston, I think, will be close. They're bringing back a decent enough team and have always just been so consistent that way. So I got Tampa Bay for the Atlantic.
All right. Wow. 10 seconds left to spare. By the way, you don't get any of that back afterwards.
Oh,
Yeah,
now
so
I know.
It's all right. We're going to have Dursa up next. Your turn. Who's going to take the Atlantic?
Yeah, I'm going to make my fiance happy, at least saying one thing today, and I'll go with the Bruins winning the Atlantic.
Wow. I didn't see that coming. I'm not even sure I've got them in the top three, but hey, I don't have to go home to Kim every night. So, all right. Now, Ryan, saving the best for last. What's your take? Who's got the Atlantic for you?
Atlantic, I think that we have to go with Tampa Bay again. I mean, you're the champs until you get taken down. I'm thinking Florida's going to push. Like, they've made a lot of additions that are really strong, like Sam Reinhart being the biggest one. I don't think Toronto's going to be there as much as everybody wants them to be. Tampa lost their third line, but they've always got young kids coming up the pipe that are always making an impact in some way. And how do you go wrong with Vasilevsky?
Oh man, we got our first guy that went overtime. Wow. All right. I didn't. You know what? Here, I didn't think it would be. I didn't think it would be Ryan at all. I figured if anybody went over, it'd be you, Dash. But
a team player, he could have had 2 of my seconds.
yeah. We should have transferred. We should add some transfer rule here. All right, we're going to move on from the Atlantic. We're going to the Metro. And I think we're going to start with Durst there now. Who do you think's got the Metro Division?
Yeah, I'm going to pick a nemesis from the past and go with the Carolina Hurricanes there.
Carolina Hurricanes. Wow. I don't. Yeah. All right. I guess I can't fault you for that. They looked good last year. Ryan, who do you have for the Metro?
In the Metro, I think you're going to go with the Capitals. I mean, the Caps and Penguins finished tied atop that Eastern Division last year. I mean, like, that division is so tight to call. Honestly, like, I could see like 3 or 4 teams potentially winning that, but I'm going to go with the Caps.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think I like the Caps. I was looking at their roster today, though, and how many signings they have and for how long. Like, they're going to have a geriatric team of guys all signed to about $8 or $9 million in about 5 years. I'm crazy. It's going to be crazy. I don't know. Are they going to be like the next Minnesota and buying all those guys out? I mean, you're never going to buy OV out. The guy is going to be a hoss forever. All right, Mr. Dash, who do you got for the Metro?
In the Metro, I think this is the year that they're going to see a little bit of a flip in the power. I see the Capitals kind of dwindling down as they get older. The Penguins looking at potentially rebuilding with their new management. You see Malkin hurt and Cosby hurt, and it's going to be interesting that way. So I think, we're going to start to see teams like Carolina move on their way up, Philadelphia move on their way up. But for me, I think it's going to be the Islanders.
Just under the wire. I thought I was hoping. I just wanted to hit beep before you actually said your answer. Then we would never know. I'm actually going with the Islanders too in that one. I think the Islanders are a great pick for the Metro. We were going to do Pacific next, but we should probably keep that to last. Let's do the Central first, and I think that we're going to start with Ryan on this one. Ryan, who do you got for the Central?
I think there's Colorado, and then there's everybody else in the Central. I mean, there's a big cluster of teams below them, but I think Colorado is the class of that division easily.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty good. I can't argue that. How about yourself, Dash? Who do you have for the Central?
Yeah, Ryan nailed it. It's the Avalanche and everybody else. I completely agree. I think the Jets have a little bit of potential to maybe crawl in as a solid number 2 in that division. I really like what they've done in the offseason, and it's been quiet there, which is nice after a lot of noise in the past few seasons between Line A and Bufflin and the Trouba situation. So nice if the Jets pulled into second, but this is the Avs division.
All right. Well, hey, I got a little bit of a beep in there, but hey, Dursa. All right. What's your hot take on this one? I know. You got to have Colorado. Who do you got, Dursa? I'll let you go.
Well, first I'll just say, because this that buzzer that you got coming in, I need to get that from you for our next episode to hurry things along with our show. But yeah, I'm not going to be. I'm not going to be too risque here and go off the beaten path. I'll say the Colorado Avalanche, but I think the Chicago Blackhawks are a team to kind of watch out.
The Blackhawks, yeah, look, the Blackhawks are. I mean, they're the big mystery, right? In the league this year. Which what team are you going to get? Because they've got all the tools for sure. All right, we're going to move on to the best division, which is the Pacific Division. We're going back to Mr. Dash. You get to decide. You get to choose first. Who do you got taking the Pacific Division?
I think similarly to what we just said, except in the Pacific, it's a 2-team division. It's going to be Vegas and the Oilers. I think it'll be close. So I'm going to go with the hometown pick and go with the Oilers. I think that Vegas has going to miss Fleury more than they know. And their run at the top has got to dwindle down a litle bit. So I think they take a bit of a step back and the Oilers take a step forward.
All right. Awesome. And Dursa, you're up next. Who do you got for the Pacific Division?
There's a new bunch on the block by name. The Edmonton Oilers have got back to the Pacific Division champs. I kind of with Dash here. I think Vegas made a huge mistake getting rid of a Vezina Trophy winner for absolutely nothing. And they're going to regret that. I think Robin Leonard's a good goalie, but to ask him to play the amount of games he's going to have to play for them to win the division is not going to actually pan out. As much as we dog Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen, I think the two of them together are going to be better than Leonard.
There is no doubt that Koskinen's in the works for a bounce-back year. In fact, he looked pretty decent during preseason. I know it's just preseason. Everybody's going to be talking about that. It's just preseason. Ryan, are we going full homer on this one? You're up. Who's on the Pacific?
Well, I'm on an Oilers podcast and I'm sitting in a room full of Oilers gear, but I have to buck the trend. I'm going Vegas here. The Oilers obviously have the high-end superstar talent in David and Draisaitl. I just don't think our defense is going to hold up as well as Vegas is. Like, the advantage that they have is they got Shea Theodore and Alex Pietrangelo. They can have them on the ice for 3/4 of the night if they really want to.
Yeah, 100%. You just made it under the wire there. All right, so we've got Ryan going with Vegas, Dash and Durst going with the Oilers. Clearly, Ryan's wrong, and the Oilers are going to win the Pacific this year. Actually, I know we all hope you're wrong. I think Vegas will be good. I mean, I think the big question mark has got to be, how much did Fleury mean to the team, right? Like, that's it, and I don't know. Lehner's seems to be dealing with a lot, right? So not to put that in a bad spotlight, but that can affect the person's game for sure. All right,
he'd be the first to admit that he has distractions.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're gonna start. Dursa, you got 30 seconds to give us your take on who's going to win the conference championships. As we're going into the playoffs here now, for the East and for the West.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the team from Florida, but it's going to be a bit of a surprise. I'm going to say the Florida Panthers are going to come out of the East and the Colorado Avalanche are going to come out of the West.
Oh, all right. That's so you got Florida out of the East and Colorado out of the West. All right, now Ryan, you're up. Conference champions.
Well, it's hard to go against Colorado in the West, so I'll agree with Mike there. But in the East, I'm going to go to the Islanders. I think they'll find a way to finally defeat the Lightning in the conference finals, and they'll find their way into that Stanley Cup final mix.
So are you telling me that Eberle wasn't like the guy there?
Kyle Palmieri got slipped in there pretty easily.
Yeah.
Ask Chiarelli.
Yeah. Ask Oilers fans during the last playoff run that Eberle was a part of. You know what? I like Ebs. I think he got a bad go here. All right, Dash, you got 30 seconds. You're on the clock. Conference champions, East and West.
My Western Conference Championship will contain the Colorado Avalanche and the Edmonton Oilers. This Stanley Cup final will end up being a battle of two teams that keep almost getting there. So when Duncan Keith takes a stupid penalty in Game 7, Colorado will go on. And my East will have the New York Islanders. I got to agree with Ryan. I think that they've been there. They're close. They know they can taste it. They've got 4 full lines, and Barry Trotz is the key.
Man, you just keep making it just under the wire. I keep.
That's why you pay me the big
there.
bucks.
I know. Wow, it's good. It's like scoring an OT. Man, that's awesome. All right, here's the big question. Now, we've got playoffs, obviously. We've got the East and West champions. We're going to start, I think, Ryan, it's your turn to start. And if it isn't too bad, it is now because I choose. Who do you got taking the Stanley Cup this year? Early prediction.
Early prediction. If it's between Colorado and the Islanders, like you think it is, I have a hard time betting against Nathan McKinnon and the Avalanche. Like, I'll defer to the team with the superstar in a preseason Stanley Cup prediction. I'll go with the Avalanche.
All right. That's a pretty big thing considering that McKinnon hasn't really got anywhere in the playoffs yet, but we'll see. He's, by the way, under COVID protocol right now, as is the coach, I think. Tested positive, asymptomatic today, as I understand. So he's going to miss the first couple of games. Let's hope he's all right. Dash, you are up. Stanley Cup champion. Early prediction.
Yeah, Colorado gets there off the Duncan Keith mistake. Let me reiterate that. And Nate McKinnon takes it one step further, just not far enough, and has some sort of fit and throws some broccoli against the wall because he loses to the Islanders. I think Trotz can do it again. He did it with the Capitals. He's that type of coach. They're that type of team. They're built for it, and I just think it's their turn.
All right, we got 2 for Colorado. Mike, we need...
No, I said Islanders.
Islanders. That's right. 2 for the Islanders, right? Is that what... Ryan, what did you say? You said Colorado.
Ryan said Colorado. I got Islanders.
Jeez, man. Somebody start listening here. Open your ears, boys. Come on. Durst, you're supposed to help me out here. Send me show notes.
You can't pick the Red Sox, Durst.
You're actually psychic there, Hubert, because I'm taking the Avalanche, so it is 2-1.
I'm
going with the TB12 diet team.
Look at you. You got an extra 5 seconds in there because I didn't even start the clock. Wow. Wow. It's like playing before the puck even drops. But Colorado. You're taking Colorado.
I am.
Okay, so let's get this straight. So Lotsburg, you got Colorado. Dursa, you got Colorado. Or am I getting this right? Yeah. And then Dash, you got the Islanders?
Yeah, I'm all in on Trotz.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're all wrong, but that's all right. We're gonna keep going. I don't even need to say who I think. I'm just gonna say you're all wrong because I'm probably gonna be right at the end of the year if I.
You're taking the field.
I'm taking.
You're not wrong. You're right. Right.
That's right. All right, we're gonna go into.
You're the producer. You could just be like Jim Rome and edit it in after.
That's exactly what I'm gonna do. You got me. All right, we're gonna go. We're gonna move to trophies. I've only got really 2, but you know what? We're gonna add. I know I'm putting you guys on the spot. We're gonna add the Vezina as well and the Norris in there. You're gonna have 30 seconds. I don't even know who's starting first now, but volunteer to start first. All of you. Okay, Durst is gonna start first. And so the trophies, I want your pick for the Hart Trophy. There's that one's the easy one. The Calder, the Vezina, and the Norris. And Durst, you ready? You're on the clock. Starting now.
So for the Hart Trophy, I'll take this fine gentleman, number 97 from the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid. Calder Trophy, I'll take Cole Caulfield from the Montreal Canadiens. What do we got? The Norris Trophy. Oh man, I haven't thought about this, but I'll take my man Darnell Nurse. Why not? And what's the other one you wanted?
Vezina.
The Vezina. Oh man. Yeah. Vasilevsky out of Tampa Bay.
All right, under the wire. That's not bad. Because they threw in a couple there. You know what? Darnell deserves to be at least in the discussion of Norris for the upcoming season. There's no doubt. We'll see. I mean, he got some votes right last year.
no time to prep for that, so I just kind of threw that out there. But
yeah, I mean, it's a homer. It's a homer answer, but hell, he's good. I think Boudelier there, Marcus. He was trying to tell me that, the Nurse contract was worse than the Suzuki contract, which I said my response to him was nobody in their right mind would trade Darnell Nurse for Nick Suzuki. All right, Ryan, you're up. You know the guys. You've got the Hart. That's the easy one. Calder, Vezina, and Norris. By the way, if the Hart is not an easy answer for any of you, you're not allowed back on this show. Just as a head. Although
how do I decide between Connor and Leon?
Yeah. Okay. All right. There were a couple like Friedman. He picked McKinnon for the Hart Trophy. By the way, just note that today, guys. All right. So Ryan, you're up. You're on.
All right, easy choice for the Hart. It's Connor's world, and everyone else is just living in it. The Calder, I'm going to go a little off the board with that one. I'm thinking Jonathan Dahlin from the Sharks. Last 2 years in Sweden have been dynamite. He's going to be on a line with Logan Couture and Timo Meier to start the year, so I'm looking for a big year out of him. Norris, I'll say Hedman, and Vezina, I'll say Vasilevsky.
Right under the wire. Man, that's pretty good. And Hedman and Vasilevsky, those are pretty solid choices. You're not going to go wrong with those guys. Dash, you got it easy. I mean, you can just pick and choose from these guys what you think.
Just scramble up their dog's breakfast.
That's right. All right. Dash, you're on the clock. Go.
Connor McHart. For the Calder, I like Trevor Zegras out of Anaheim. I don't think they got a lot to score with there, and somebody's got to score goals. Vezina, I think Vasilevsky is too easy, to be honest. I'm going to go back with the year before's winner and Connor Hellebuck. I think the Jets are going to have a decent bounce back year. And for the Norris, Cole Makar. I think he's going to dominate.
Whoa, Makar. I think that's a pretty good one. I mean, the kid just keeps getting better and better. You know what? There are some Dursa. You picked Nurse, which is not a bad choice, but there are some really good defensemen in the league right now, right? I mean, you can't go wrong. Hedman is an easy, safe choice, but you got Hedman, you got Fox, you got Makar. Right, like all those guys. Nurse, right, and Nurse is probably lower on that for most people than, but he's right up there. I mean, he had a hell of a season. Obviously, he deserves some mention. So anyway, that's pretty awesome. Makar, though, I actually kind of put him out of my head, and he's outstanding. All right, we're gonna talk some teams where those guys are going. We started with Durst last time, so Ryan, you're going to be up. Who do you figure is going to be the top Canadian team this year in terms of points?
In terms of points, I've got between two teams. That's our hometown Oilers and Dash's Jets. I'm going to give the nod to Edmonton here just because we play in an easier division with some lowly California teams that we can beat up on this year, whereas the competition's a little tougher in the Central. So I'll take the Oilers.
Right on. Yeah, Oilers are a good choice. So there's two things I've noticed about the show tonight. We are definitely an Oilers homer show, so we love our Oilers. And then the second thing is we clearly hate the Leafs. They're not getting any love in this room, let me tell you. All right, Dash, you are up. A top Canadian team tonight. For the season, rather.
The Leafs have average goaltending. They can't get past. They don't have enough defensive depths, and they get injuries to Austin Matthews this season. So they fall off. It's almost the Jets, but I can't agree with Ryan anymore. I think they got a tougher division. The Oilers can bounce around in the Pacific and have a little bit of an easier go, and we've got the regular season figured out.
So well, I think Ryan took the Oilers, so you didn't disagree with him there. So,
No, I said I couldn't agree with him.
Oh, you
did I say
couldn't.
disagree? I couldn't agree with him, more is what I meant to say.
Oh, okay, sorry. I all I heard was you couldn't agree with him, but that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a little bit of conflict. All right, Durst, you're up. Top Canadian team. It's clear you only have one choice. You're on the clock.
Your 2021-22 Pacific Division champion, Edmonton Oilers.
Pacific Division champion.
What about President's Trophy? Can they get that far, Durst?
Don't put that evil on me. I don't want the President's Trophy curse.
Does anybody think they're capable?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
President's Trophy?
Yeah.
I think the goaltending is suspect when it comes to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think our goaltending can be average or above average enough for a regular season. I think Tippett knows how to coach a regular season. I think Connor and Leon know how to get to the end of a regular season by this point. I think Tampa Bay is going to take a step back. And really, if it can't be one of those two teams, maybe it's Colorado, but I'd say the Edmonton Oilers have a shot. Absolutely.
Yeah, the Avs definitely have a shot at it. I'm curious. I mean, the Flames almost did it a couple of years back, right? So, I mean, if they can get close.
And our division's getting worse.
With Johnny Kucherov. Oh, man. Jeez. All right. We're gonna go with now your dark horse team, i.e., the team that you think might make a splash that nobody's expecting this year. And then in the same question, who's the team that you think will be the biggest disappointment this year? We're going to start with Dash on this one. Dash, you're on the clock.
Every part of me wanted to say the Chicago Blackhawks. I think getting Kirby Dach back, getting Taves back, as well as the Vezina winning goaltender. That's three pretty big acquisitions. And Patrick Kane's always dangerous, and DeBrincat's always dangerous. But the more I kept looking, it was the LA Kings. I really like what they did in the offseason with Arvidsson and Lemieux and Daniel. And Kopitar's always dangerous. McClellan's a good coach.
Oh, man, you got through the dark horse, but you didn't get a chance to get to your biggest disappointment. Of course, the LA Kings could be both, I guess, right?
Oh, I didn't know I was supposed to do both there. Yeah, okay, bad.
Yeah, it's all right. We'll never know. Although you can throw it in quickly if you want. I make the rules.
My biggest disappointment, I think, is going to be the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think there's a lot of teams or people looking at them to make some improvements, and maybe Laine and Voracek will, but I'm not sure.
All right. We got Robert on YouTube, by the way, says LA Kings can make a splash and Seattle will underachieve. Actually, hadn't really considered Seattle, and it depends on what you think they're capable of achieving this year, whether you consider that underachieving or not. Dursa, you are up, you're ready, and you're on the clock.
Yeah, for my dark horse team, I'm definitely going to take the Chicago Blackhawks. I think there's been significant change there, and I don't know if they're really going to surprise anybody, but they're going to be a whole lot different than they were last season. Their record is going to improve dramatically. And biggest disappointment, I think, I think the guy on top of the mountain is going to take a bit of a fall here, and that being Golden Knights.
All right. Well, you were over there. I mean, you guys aren't very good at this game, let me tell you. You're 0 for 2 on this one. 0 for 2. Ryan, come on. How about you redeem us here? And so, Mike, you said the Golden Knights are going to be the biggest disappointment?
Yeah, I mean, everybody thinks they're going to win the division, and I think they've made some mistakes in getting rid of Fleury there. I think that's going to hurt them more than they know.
I think there is definite potential for them to be. Yeah. All right, Ryan, you are on the clock.
I'll try to be better time-wise here. But so dark horse teams, I like the Jets a lot. I've doubted them the last couple of years, and they've proven me wrong. So I'll go that way. Disappointments, I've got a couple here. Toronto, screw Toronto. They've got all these like third line guys, fourth line guys, and like bunting and camp that they're trying throwing spaghetti at the wall with. And Carolina lose Hamilton.
Oh man, you guys, not a one of you could make it under the wire. Like, I think the biggest disappointment for me is this team right here. Just kidding. No, I love you guys. A round of Stortini hugs for everybody. All right. We got that. So you had Toronto and you had Carolina as your biggest disappointment.
Yes, sir.
Does anybody have Boston? Like, I think Boston has a chance to, disappoint, especially given like the division they're in, and there's like Florida's going to look really good, Tampa Bay, Toronto, and then you got some good teams coming out of the Metro. I don't know. I mean, but I'm with you, Durs. I think the Golden Knights are the team that could potentially be the biggest disappointment this year. All right, we're moving on. So we started that one with Dash. We're going to do this one with Durs. We have, so remember, you got 30 seconds, and you got 2 questions, just if we weren't clear last time, Dash. We got who's the first coach that's going to be fired, and who's the first GM that's going to be fired. Dursa, you are on the clock.
So the first coach to be dismissed is going to be DJ Smith. And the first GM, if there's a GM fired this year, will be Brad Treliving in Cowtown.
All right. Wow. Way under 15 seconds. Time left. Ryan, you're on the clock.
All right. First coach fired. I'm going to stay in Alberta, but obviously go with Daryl Sutter. I think the game has passed him by, and I was very confused as to why they hired him. I don't expect the Flames to be any good this year. So, yeah, Sutter out, and I'm going to agree with Mike and say Treliving out as well. Dramatic year in Calgary, and I'm going to laugh, and I'm going to laugh some more.
I'll let you go over if you want to laugh a little bit more for
and more.
All right. I figured we could all agree that was worth going over for. All right, Dash, you are up and you're on the clock.
My coach in the hot seat is Alain Vigneault. I think the Flyers have taken a few bits of a step back in the last few seasons, and he's potentially coming under some scrutiny with some accusations. And I think as some of that stuff starts to bubble up, it's going to be interesting. I also wanted to say Treliving, but I think the Flames will be okay this year. I think it's the Canucks that are going to disappoint, and I think it's Jim Benning that's on the line there.
And so not a soul picked Bergevin. Hey, I think he's. Are
we allowed to pick Chiarelli in St. Louis?
Yeah. Well, oh man, don't get me going on St. Louis. Like, what kind of a franchise takes all of your pickings from the decade of darkness and starts like figuring that this is going to lead to anything good? Like, maybe, I don't know. Is there? There's a few good first rounders coming up. Maybe they're making a play at like the next Connor or something, like Connor Bedard.
The same franchise that O'Reilly, Tarasenko, and Peter Angelo walked away from. So
yeah, wow, it's crazy. Anyway, all right. I kind of think. Bergevin is on the hot seat, and I think if Sutter's to go, it's because Treliving went first. So
that's fair.
I just think Treliving's the first to go, and then it would be Sutter, whoever's in there. All right, who do we start that one with? We started with Ryan. Or no, Durst. We started with Durst, so we're going to start this one with Ryan. This is an easy one. You guys don't need the 30 seconds. Are the Kraken going to make the playoffs this year?
I am going to say yes. They'll get one of the wild card spots simply because they're going to beat up on the terrible California teams.
All right. Right on. That'd be a success for the Kraken. Dash, they're going to make the playoffs this year?
I don't think so, to be honest. I'm not sure they're going to be able to score enough goals to win enough games to get there. Their defense will be good. Their goaltending should be okay. But I think that wild card spot will be open to a team that's had a bit more experience together, like Calgary or somebody like that.
All right. Dursa, Kraken.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to beat up really on anybody, but I think they'll be good enough to get into the playoffs, squeak in. I don't think they're, like Dash says, I don't think they're going to score a lot of goals, but because of the division being a little bit suspect, they'll make it in.
Yeah, I don't agree with any of you. I don't think they'll make it in at all. I mean, I'll be surprised. Of course, they said that about Vegas the first year they were in. In fact, I probably said it like 10 times. And I even probably said it 2 days before the season ended that year. It was all kind of hopeful that they'd fall apart. I didn't think they'd get past the first round. I didn't think they'd get past the second round, so on and so forth. Man, I hate Vegas. You know what? I almost hate Vegas as much as I hate Calgary. I don't know what it is, but like I hate that franchise, and I hate that the people there expect that they're going to take it to the Stanley Cup every year. Like, that's the quickest the fan base has really started to irritate me. All right. So I said it. Was that out loud? Is that
there's an arrogance with management there, like an air of there's an air of entitlement there already, and they're brand freaking new. Like that's the part that irritates me.
Oh man! All right, we could do a whole episode on that. I'd love it. We started with Lotsburg last time, right? So we're gonna start with Dash. This one's I think this is a good question, and we've been for those that haven't gone yet, we're doing the Heavy Hockey Network. You can go to heavyhockey.com. Lots of exciting things planned and happening. I haven't talked to you guys yet, but I'm going to do some stuff around maybe what the current odds and betting are out now, and maybe have some guys doing what their parlays are going to be, etc. Maybe you guys do that. I don't know. We'll see. Of course, Dash, you're talking about doing some fantasy stuff as well, because we think that's a big deal, and it should be a lot of fun. So this one is, if you're going to take, outside of McDavid, because he's the obvious one, who are you going to take second in your fantasy draft? Dash, you are on the clock.
Well, if you can't take Batman, you take Robin. I think those guys are going to start the season on the same line and potentially play 50-some games together on the same line, as well as dominate the best power play potentially in the history of hockey. I think it's a pretty easy choice for me, and I take Leon Draisaitl.
All right. I think that's as good a choice as any, and like you said, if they're going to play together. Dursa, you're up. Outside of McDavid, who are you taking second?
Yeah, if I'm picking a player, it's Leon Draisaitl as well. I think he's, put himself in that 2 hole as second best player in the league.
Second best player in the league, man. This is definitely a homer episode here. All right, we've got
who's won more Hart trophies, McKinnon or Draisaitl, Michael? It's not that homer of a pick, really. Like we've got the juice, buddy.
Second, I agree. I think he's the second best player, but there's nobody outside of Edmonton wants to admit to that, right? Like they don't.
True.
They do not.
Ryan might surprise us.
In fact, in NHL.com. By the way, I've got a little bit of an echo going, so I don't know who's got the speaker going. But anyway, NHL.com finally had Draisaitl up to number 3 from what did they have him at, like 15 a couple of years ago or some stupid shit like that. Like the year after he got the 50 goal, one of two players to get 50 goals, right? Least talked about 50 goal scorer in the history of the NHL right there. All right, Ryan, you're up.
I can't really disagree with the Draisaitl pick, but just for the sake of making this a slightly more interesting conversation for everybody, I will throw Nikita Kucherov's name into the ring. I think he's the only other guy in the league that can come close to competing with that kind of firepower.
All right. So where's the echo coming from? Which of you guys is the culprit here? One of you. I'm looking.
I'm going to go on the limit and say it's probably me.
All right. Well, hey, you know what? It's fun having you on.
I think it might have went away now.
Yeah, we'll see. No, it's still there. I'm still getting a little bit of an echo. All right. It's not the worst thing in the world. Plus, I love to hear myself speak, so it's all good. All right. Next question. We started with Dash that time. We're going to start with you, Dursa. Who is your X factor in this year's fantasy draft? Dursa, you're on the clock.
Yeah, I'll go with another Edmonton Oiler, Jesse Puljujarvi. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Wow. This is like, we might as well just insert Oiler name here tonight. All right, Ryan, you are up. You're on the clock.
I'm going to go with Nikolai Ehlers. I think watching him last year, like, he took his skating up to a whole other level. He's infinitely more confident with the puck than he ever has been. And the kid can absolutely snipe. So, like, yeah, I think Ehlers is my guy.
All right. You know what? I like Ehlers. I mean, I'm not a Winnipeg Jets fan, obviously, but man, that guy's good, right? That's a good choice. I'm not sure I'd even go X Factor though. I think a lot of people are on to him. Robert on YouTube says Bouchard. Hell, if he got any power play time, he'd definitely be on there. All right, Dash, you're up. You're on the clock.
Yeah, Bush Bombs would need the power play time. I would agree. I like both those picks. I think both those guys will outplay their value in a fantasy type of league. I'll give you two. I'll give you a deep sleeper. I like Jared McCann in Seattle. I think somebody has to score there, and he's got some upside. I like Laine this year with a new coach in Brad Larson and playing alongside with Voracek. I hear they've got some chemistry. And on the D, I like Spurgeon. He had 19 points and 9 power play points in the last 26 games last year, and I think Minnesota will be better this year too.
You're way over as I was trying to find the search for echo. I gave you like probably an extra 10 seconds there. I think it is you, Ryan. By the way, I put you on mute for a second there. So maybe you're going to have to unmute when you talk, Ryan, but I'll just get you to mute when we're up, if you don't mind, if you got that capability there.
I think I can.
All right, good. You're muted now. All right. So we started with Dursa last time, I guess, ended with Dash. So it's going to be Ryan. We're going to be starting with you. You're going to have to unmute before you go this time, for sure. Of course, I say my most brilliant things when I'm on mute. We're going to switch over to Oilers. This is a 3-part question. You got 30 seconds. Use your time wisely, because this is a big one.
Might be asking an awful lot there.
I know. I'm guessing. I actually made this one particularly hard just so I could use the bullhorn a couple times. Yeah. All right. So, how many points for McDavid? How many points for Draisaitl? And who's going to finish third in points on the Oilers this year? Ryan, you are on the clock.
Well, I'm learning to never doubt McDavid. I'm going to put him over the 150-point plateau. I'm going to put him at 152. I'm going to put Draisaitl at 127. which is ridiculous to think about, having two guys over 125. But anyway, third on the team, I'm going to go Tyson Barrie.
Tyson Barrie. Love it. All right, I'll get you to put yourself on mute now. Dash, you think he made it under the wire in 30 seconds. Pressure's on. I'm not sure what the punishment is if you don't make 30 seconds. I mean, you probably just talk over me anyway. I'd have to put you on mute.
You can punish me by putting me on a podcast with Mike Dursa.
There you go. Yeah, you might be stuck with him. That might be a full-time gig. All right,
Boy.
Mr. Dash, you are on the clock.
I love the ambition Ryan took. I'm just not sure Connor can keep that type of pace up over 82 games. I knock on wood that, he can stay healthy and do it. I'm going to trend down a little bit closer to, I think, about 140 points for Connor. That said, Draisaitl playing shotgun with him. I think he can probably get to the 120 point plateau. And I made my prediction on 99 forever. It'll be Jesse Puljujarvi.
Puljujarvi. Nice. He's getting a lot of love this year. I mean, like a lot of love. Even Stauffer really and Spector were like, man, they were all over that today, I thought. All right. Dursa, I've given you lots of time to think about this. You got to listen to Ryan. You got to listen to Dash. It's pretty much like cheating. I mean, I could have given you my answers. Who knows? Dursa, you're on the clock.
I think we're in for a year for the record books in the modern era. I think Connor hits 160 points, almost 2 points a game. Leon Draisaitl, 120 points, and I'm going to go with Tyson Barrie coming in at third with 65 points.
Not bad. I like it. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Tyson Barrie is going to be part of that, like up there in that third. Okay, guys, this is I'm going to put you all on screen right now because I want to talk about this before we move on. We've got a couple more Oilers questions before we're done here, but Spector and Stauffer were talking about this today and kind of made me think because Stauffer's about as big a homer as anybody, and love him or hate him. I mean, he's definitely loves the Oilers. He's talking to Spector about I actually, again, I mean, I say love him or hate him because Spector can be a polarizing guy in Edmonton. But he's actually a good balance for Stauffer. Like when I listen to those two, like Stauffer will say something and Spector will put him in line, and so Stauffer was getting all excited about the potential of having like 10, 50 goal scorers on the Oilers this year. I mean, does anybody do you guys think, given what Tippett's, tipped his hat on, having Draisaitl and McDavid playing on a line for sounds like at least every home game, do you guys think these guys like Hyman will get, the 25 to 30 goals that we were hoping for and wanting? Puljujarvi should, right, if he's going to stick on that line. But some of the other guys, like, maybe Nuge, right, or Yamo, right, if they're not going to be playing their full-time with Draisaitl this year. Like, what do you guys, this is kind of off, like, give me a thought. How many 20-plus goal scorers on the Oilers this year? And this was not prepared.
520-plus goal scorers, but nobody gets to 30 other than Connor and Leon, and they both have surpassed 40.
Wow. Ryan?
And the others are Nuge, Hyman, and
Puljujarvi. Ryan?
Yeah, for me, I fully expect Nugent Hopkins to do it. Like, I don't know what was happening with him at 5-on-5 last year, but I don't expect that sort of awful puck luck or whatever it was to continue. So I think Nuge gets there. I think if Hyman's not going to be playing with McDavid and Puljujarvi on that top line, I don't know if he will get there. So I'm thinking, yeah, Puljujarvi might. I'll go 4. I'll go David Draisaitl, Puljujarvi, and Nuge.
Anybody think Perlini?
It's getting 82.
It's on pace.
Yeah. All right. Dursa.
Yeah, I think we're going to have 6 20-goal men and a 7th guy right on the verge, and that's going to come from the back end, surprisingly. But, well, I think he'll be close to a 20-goal man from the blue line.
All right. Well, you actually answered kind of my other question, if you thought maybe a defenseman would do it. I wonder if any of them are going to be close, right? Like if Barry or Nurse will be close. And I'm curious. I mean, these aren't in the questions that I gave you guys, but I mean, how many is Bush good for this year, right? Like if he's got the kind of shot, right, that may just start going in. And you're going to be chalking him up like you are strikes on the back field, right?
I'll call Bush for a baker's dozen.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, guys, we're gonna move on. We got a couple more questions, and we can sit and chat for a bit. I've got Amy says, "Watch out for Fogle," and yes, if he plays on the power play. All right, I mean, if Perlini seems to have a knack for putting the puck in, at least early on, we'll see. If you're talking to Jim Matheson, so did
Tyratty, yeah.
So did Tyratty. Amy's saying Maroon 2.0. Could be. I hope you're right. All right. Who do we start with last time? We started with Ryan. So Dash, I think you're up. Dash, question to you. This you can take any which way. I expect you guys to probably take up the whole 30 on this one. Who is going to be the Oilers' starting goalie in the playoffs this year?
When I wrote down my notes, I wrote down Anton Khudobin, but I think that Ken Holland's just going to let it ride this year. He could have made some moves in the offseason, and he didn't. I think he expects to see improvements from the AHL. So there's a wait and see there, and maybe some moves he can make this offseason. So I think it's Mike Smith.
All right, just under the wire. We'll see. I'm kind of curious about that, but you might. He's kind of shown that sort of patience, right, with everybody. So you may very well be right. Dursa, you're up. You're on the clock.
Yeah, I wish I could say there's a blockbuster John Gibson deal coming, but I think it's Mike Smith.
All right. One of the questions I was going to ask is if you thought the Oilers would trade their first round pick this year, and I think the answer is no. If we're not getting a goalie, then what's the point, right? All right, Ryan, you are up. You're on the clock.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I would say that it's going to be Mike Smith. I don't think there's much out there in the rental trade deadline goalie market anyway, aside from maybe Khudobin, but I think Holland will sit on his hands. I mean, like, Mike Smith hasn't been the problem in the playoffs the last 2 years, and he was Calgary's best player in the postseason 3 years ago now, right? So last year we couldn't score. Year before that, couldn't defend. Goalie's fine.
All right. Well, you made it just under the wire. All right. Guys, we're down to the final question. And you've done a good job so far. You kind of have answered this sort of, but here's the big question. I didn't realize until I read Gregor had an article out on Oilers Nation that the Oilers actually hold the current record for like 34 years for a Pacific Division or for a division lead, right? Let me confirm this because I didn't. It's been 34 years since the Oilers finished first in their division, and it is the longest division-winning drought in the NHL, followed by the New York Islanders, who haven't led since 1988. So both of those could change this year. But this leads us into our last question. How many points are the Oilers going to finish with? And where do you see them finishing in the division? I think, Dursa, we're up with you first. And if we're not, we are now. You're on the clock.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 104 points and finishing second in the division in the Western Conference behind the Colorado Avalanche.
What about the division? Sorry. The Pacific. First in the division?
Yeah, we win the division.
We win the division? All right.
Yeah. First time in forever.
Yeah, 34 years. That's a long freaking time. That's hard to believe. I mean, it doesn't feel like that long. We were damn close before COVID kind of stripped us from that glory. It could have gone down to the wire that season. It's hard to say. I mean, it looked like Vegas was running away with it. But all right, Ryan, you are up and you're on the clock.
Okay, so this year I'm going second in the division. I'll put them over 100 points. I'll give them 101. I'm going to go out on a limb for next year. I think next year is the year that they break that streak. Like this year, there's still going to be some learning curve, like some growing pains with this group since it's newly formed. Like so many newcomers with Keith and CC, Fogo, Orion. I think next year is the year that we see them take that leap over Vegas.
Well, shit, I don't even have to invite you on the season preview next year now. You still get the invite. All right, Dash. You are up, sir, and you're on the clock.
Well, I said I had the Oilers winning the division, so I'll give them that. I think probably about 100 points can do it. Maybe a record around 45-27 or 45-25 and 10, somewhere in there. And then I'll use the rest of my time to ask Dursa who's scoring all these goals for the Oilers. If both Connor and Leon are going over 40, you've got four other guys over 20. You got Baker's dozen for Bush. You must have some for Barry and Nurse. Are we scoring 350 goals this year?
Well, I'm going to let that go because now we're in open mic time here, Durst. Let it fly, man. You know what? He's right. I'm kind of that's some wishful thinking.
What do you got? What do you got? You got McDavid and Dry over 40?
Yeah.
Okay. Who else is in your 20 with Hyman, Puljujärvi, and who's in your 20? Who's 20 plus?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Nuge, Yamamoto, Puljujärvi, and Hyman.
So
all top six are knocking it out of the park, kids. We're scoring goals this
year. You got Yamo?
I don't know how many we're letting in, but we're scoring goals this year.
What do you got Barry and Nurse at each?
I'm gonna go with Darnell Nurse at 15 and Tyson Barrie at about say 17.
Wow.
And Bush at about 13.
And I think Nurse would be a 20 goal man if he got power play time.
You got the Oilers that over 300 goals by the time they've even put two lines on the ice. This is optimistic.
Way we go. 1980's back, baby.
If they, you know what, Dash, if they call penalties like they're supposed to this year,
that's true. Power play is going to be lights out.
Yeah. Lotsburg, it sucks that you got to take yourself off mute every time, but you got
positive Tuesdays,
Oh, it's all good. But if the question's 20 goal scorers, I might add Hyman to my list of 4 that I originally said. But I agree with Mike. Maybe Nurse is just short. Barry has a chance to get there with most of the power play time. That's where I'll keep it.
Yeah, I mean, if the Oilers get as many power plays as they should get, given the new rules, I mean, Dursa, you might be underestimating, but we'll see what happens.
How long does that cross-checking rule stay in place the way it's supposed to be called?
I don't know. I mean, that's the big thing. Everybody's. I mean, as we have been. I remember when hooking first came into the league, right? Like not first came into the league, but then they were going to call the clutch and grab, and they called it during that preseason, and nobody knew what the hell they were calling anymore. And by about four or five games into the season, you never saw another one that same season. I completely expect that this year. I didn't realize. And maybe I just willfully didn't realize, but Connor in 8 playoff games has not had a single penalty drawn. Has not
7.
drawn 7.
Because Chicago was a 3-game series.
Oh yeah,
The last seven playoff games, there has been 0 penalties drawn.
There should have been about 4 or 5 in that Winnipeg series, but there were none actually called.
yeah, it's unreal, right? Like I don't know how. I don't know. So here's an interesting thought. I'm taking a lot from Stauffer and Spector today. It was probably the last thing I listened to actually before the show tonight. But I'm kind of like, do you think that this, new deal with the TV broadcast rights in the U.S. and having Gretzky and Messier on there, do you think they can affect any change that the local broadcast Sportsnet isn't obviously able to do? They haven't been able to put any pressure on the NHL so far. What do you guys think about that?
I think anytime Gretzky's name's on anything, it's probably going to sell. The Americans know that name. So it'd just be nice to have that ESPN brand build so that we can pump more money into the league and be able to expand the salary cap a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be good for the Oilers, good for Montreal, who's paying a lot of money. I'm gonna go. Actually, I'm just getting on this Nick Suzuki thing because it seemed to get a couple of Habs guys all riled up. By the way, I don't think the Nick Suzuki signing is altogether all that bad. I mean, you got 8 years, you still got him 1 year on the entry level, and then he goes in just under $8 million, which seems crazy. But if you consider the salary, caps going up. You got him for 8 years. To me, and maybe this is a good topic of conversation. It seems a little bit high risk to get a guy that's 22 years old. He's played 126 or 127 games in the league. Granted, prorated, he might have made 60 points last season, right? But he's not the leader. And I know we could discuss this tonight, but I don't think he's the leader that Brady Tkachuk is, or some of these guys. I don't feel like Nick Suzuki's the guy that's going to be leading your team to the Stanley Cup again, right? You're paying him, top dollar. Does anybody like this signing?
I think if you take all the number one centers in the NHL and you throw them in a bucket, probably $8 million shakes out about where Nick Suzuki's worth, Michael. I think he's a first-line center. He's a first-line power play. Christian Dvorak has no chance of taking that role in the first line. So, I mean, he's not the highest paid first-line center, but he's not the lowest paid either, and that's about where he'd fall in my mind.
Is he a first-line center on most teams?
Probably a third of the teams. And, where does $8 million fall in ranking with all the first line center salaries?
Yes.
You look at McDavid and Draisaitl and Crosby and, all those guys have the higher salary. He's not getting Nate McKinnon's $6 million a year money, but that'll change. But, ultimately I'd say it's about, maybe it's a $500,000 high, but I don't think it's outrageous.
Yeah. All right.
Brady Tkachuk he's a winger.
Yeah, he's a winger, but he's also wearing the C, right? I mean, that's a guy that's, he's a leader. He doesn't just play a game that puts points on the board, right? Like he gets in there, he mixes it up. He's, if he had a good cast of support, I think he'd be, a lot higher point values than he did. He led his team in scoring, too.
To me, that deal's a little bit like when we signed Hall, Eberle, and Nuge all to $6 million deals. little bit of wishful thinking, a little bit of hopefulness involved in it, and good faith, I guess, trying to keep a player around, but it's definitely not based on a track record. It's.
Well, I mean, with Hall and Nuge, you got to remember those guys were first overall, right? And then Eberle in his second season had something like 7. He was almost a point a game player, right? And he had 30 plus goals. I looked at those contracts kind of because somebody brought it up that maybe that was the turning point for paying big entry level deals. The other thing you got to factor in, whether we love it or hate it in Edmonton, is there's a tax in Edmonton. Right, so if you paid, say, Nick Suzuki $8 million a season, there's $1 million tax on that for playing in Edmonton, right? The fans are, I put in quotes when I said it, enthusiastic, to say the least, right? I mean, when the best player in the world, when his parents are accosted at a restaurant, there's a bit of a tax that goes on to that, right? When you're playing in the northernmost city with probably one of the worst travel schedules in the league, there's a bit of a tax on that, right? I love Edmonton. You guys know that, but there's a tax to play there. So
Michael?
I just think that's not really comparable. Go ahead, Durst.
No, the 16th. Okay, the 16th highest paid center in the NHL makes $8 million. That's Logan Couture, Ryan Johansson, Matt Duchene money. And the 25th overall center in the league makes $7 million. All
right. I just, is he your top center if you got Logan Couture? I don't know. Maybe not. I'm not sold on Nick Suzuki. I think, and we know about this in Edmonton, right? We know about paying a guy for good playoff performance, right? Don't we? I mean, we're the kings of paying a guy for good playoff performance, and right now that's where the team is at with Nick Suzuki, right? Is good playoff performance. And hey, I'm not against the player. I like Nick Suzuki. I like the way he plays. I like watching him play.
You're just saying he's Sean Horkoff.
No, yeah. No, God, no. Holy shit, man! The whole Habs organization is out to get me right now. You just put a target on my.
Well, all those overpaid playoff guys, right? Pisani and Horkoff, and now Suzuki's overproducing in the playoffs, so he's falling in line, man.
I think Dashny's trying to bring Blackhawks Twitter into this for the Pisani comment.
Oh yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Ryan, what's your thought on this?
So with Suzuki, I agree with you in saying that he's probably not worth $8 million today. But I think there's a lot of information out there in regards to aging curves for kids. Like kids are hitting their peaks at like 22 to 25 years old in that range, right? That's kind of these first entry level deals that kids are signing. So like Marner pushing $10 million, Rantanen pushing $10 million, like Brady Tkachuk holding out the way he is. Right, there's a lot of cases for young kids where they're getting these massive contracts. Then when they go into these UFA years, that UFA contract suddenly isn't the big contract for them anymore.
That's a really good point.
You kind of bring up a good point there, because it used to be you had to play like 10 plus years in the league to get the big money. Now it comes sooner.
Now it's about whether a team
is.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, sorry. Like, what's happened to a lot of teams is like you saw it with like Lucic. Like there's dozens of examples out there. Like you sign that guy to that big contract at 28 years old, and he's about to start declining. Right, so you're paying for past performance, whereas with the strategy that Montreal just took on Suzuki, you're paying for future performance. It's a gamble, yes, 100%, but long term it might actually be smart.
So you guys are bringing up good points, and I'm not saying Suzuki's not worth it. I'm saying to me it's a little bit high risk, right? And if you don't risk something, there's no reward, obviously. So
it's whether you believe in the player, Michael, because you look at what the Oilers have done. Look at these bridge contracts, right? You give.
Well, so Dash, before you go,
exactly,
that's my next question. There's a better example for this, and it's Pettersson, right?
Draisaitl versus Nurse. they trusted Draisaitl. They believed in him, so they invested in him. And they gave him a little more money than he was worth that year. And now look at that contract is one of the best, value contracts out there.
But we won on Nurse.
Give a bridge deal to, sure. But this last contract, he's probably making a little bit more than he's worth. And it's because he took a couple of bridge deals. He outperformed his bridge deals. And if we'd have invested and believed in Darnell Nurse 2 years ago, we'd have been paying him 6.5. Yeah. If you wait too long, you got to pay them what they're worth at that time. And so you're invested in Suzuki a little early, but I think it'll pay off. I agree with Ryan.
So what's the better deal here, Pettersson or Suzuki?
Well, better for who?
Well, better for the well, yeah. I mean, better for the team. What's the better?
I think
deal,
I think the Suzuki deal is better for Montreal than the Pettersson deal is for Vancouver.
All right.
Me too. I think Pettersson's injury prone and Suzuki's a little more durable.
You know what I say? You're always allowed on my podcast, and you always have the right to be wrong when you're on here. And so, all right, Durst, you got something to say? What do you got?
Yeah. Well, I think Montreal did something, and they secured an investment for a long time. When you just keep rolling over these contracts for a year or 2 years, there's uncertainty there because it could go into free agency, and you could risk losing the player. I mean, it was, and you could end up where you've handcuffed yourself. I mean, that was almost the case, I think, with Nurse, and now next year it becomes a problem with Yamamoto and Puliarvi.
Exactly. This maybe that's what's pissing me off about this contract is next year it's really going to screw us over, right?
Well, luckily it's wingers. It's wingers that we have to worry about. It's not another center. Our centers are good for a while here. So
let me ask you this, Michael: if Weber never plays another game and Gallagher isn't there much longer, who's the next captain of the Montreal Canadiens?
Suzuki. I don't know. Maybe it's him. I just think there's.
Drouin speaks French. I don't know.
Yeah.
What matters?
Yeah. I said this too earlier today, which is I don't think Bergevin's going to be around long enough to see that contract anyway, right? Like I'd be surprised if he's. I think he's kind of on the way out, and what a great time to negotiate a contract if I'm. Nick Suzuki. I think, look, who's got the leverage here, right? You lost Kotkaniemi, right? And now, as you said, he's the top center on the team, right? He's got to make $8 million, right? It puts him in line with top centers on any team. Who cares if he's 22 or whatever?
That's right.
It doesn't. But to me, right, and that's I guess the point that I'm getting to is on any other team, he might not be an $8 million a year center, right? On the Montreal Canadiens in a year where they lost Kotkaniemi, Shea Weber's out, Price is out indefinitely. He's an $8 million a year guy. He had all the leverage in this situation. Bergevin really had nothing to do. I don't think Bergevin's around long enough to see this one play through. So why not sign the deal, right? Do the Chiarelli thing and sign the deal. And if it works out, you're a genius and you saved your job for a couple of years. And if it doesn't, you're just going the route that you were going anyway.
You mean do the Holland thing? He's the one handing out years like candy.
Look.
He said it's his leverage. He said that's all he's got. People don't want to come to Edmonton, then I'll give him the extra years and the more money. He said it.
I think, and here's the thing with Edmonton, right? And we all know this is it's always going to be a problem signing good contracts in Edmonton. I mean, it's still a problem, and we've got McDavid and Draisaitl, right? Like I almost think you got to be from Edmonton to understand what, how great a city it is, right? If you've spent any amount of time there, you kind of get it and you love it, right? And that's why, there's players that stick around afterwards. But if you're coming from wherever, Toronto, and you're going to Edmonton, it just doesn't have the same cachet, right? Or whichever. And so people know, like, I love Oilers fans because we're passionate about everything. In fact, I've watched Oilers games just about everywhere. I've been to a lot of different arenas, and they always come out and they're always loud. Sometimes they're a little bit too loud, but you know what? I love it. I love that we love our team. But as people have hinted with Adam Larson or hinted even with Koskinen, and it can be tough to be a fan, just like it can be tough to be a fan in Toronto. But the difference is there's not a lot of guys that had Oilers pajamas growing up, right? There's a lot of guys that had Toronto Maple Leafs pajamas growing up. We've got some comments on YouTube, and sorry to keep you guys from responding to what I just said there. But hey, as the lead on this show, I can do whatever the hell I want. If I said something that really, was was awful, I just say, "Oh, no, we're moving on." All right,
your show, you're the host.
That's right.
Bro.
I get the last word every freaking time. It's great. All right, we got Jason on YouTube says Koskinen should have a better year. He's got his family in town. He's playing for a new contract. He looks ready. He's played some preseason games, not like last year where there were no preseason games. Plus, Oilers fans are back at Rogers Place to cheer him on to succeed. What do you guys think about that?
Koskinen will be in the KHL next year.
Yeah, you think so?
Yep.
Okay, Durst? Agree, disagree?
I think he's going to be more consistent than he was last year. I don't see him having a huge drop off. I'm looking forward to Mikko having a resurgent year in the orange and blue, but I don't think he's an Edmonton Oiler next year.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Lotsberg?
Yeah, from what I was reading, he was doing a lot of work on his mental game this summer, which is huge because the issue with Koskinen is it's the soft goals and it's the first or second shot of the game, right? That's the big thing, and that's mental. He's got the talent to be an NHL goaltender, but not at $4.5 million and not as your number one back. So I don't think he'll be back next year either, just because of the contract situation, and we need to upgrade. But I expect better than what he was last year.
Yeah. So I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I think here's the thing: is there is no winning as an Oilers GM and keeping Koskinen around because you can't trust what he's going to be the following season. Because we've had every goalie in Koskinen. We've had the really shit guy that lets in the first 4 shots, and we've had the guy with the outstanding save percentage and can take us through everywhere. I think if you sign him for a contract after this year, then you're looking at trouble when he doesn't perform, right? Like everybody will tell you, I told you so. And while you can't be listening to the fans, I just don't think there's anything you can do there. We've got Don on YouTube says, driving around Ramsey Heights, smoking weed, blasting Elvis Presley is a good time. Not a lot of NHL players are doing that, but but some might be. And hey, who are we to argue?
Whatever works.
That's right. Whatever works. Rob on YouTube says, can see Mikko getting at least a 9-10 save percentage this year. I sure as hell hope so. That's what I'm saying. That's my commentary. Actually hoping both Mikko and Mike are over 9-15. That would be great. We also have too many up-and-comers to keep both of them. Guys, there's a question. So Robert brings that up. We have too many up-and-comers. Do you guys feel that any of the prospects are going to I'm actually a big I never get his name right. Konovalov, thank you. I'm a big Konovalov fan. A lot of people question his size, whether he can make it in the league. But I watching him play a couple of games, his positioning, his athleticism, there's a lot of good things. We'll see what happens in AHL. I don't believe Skinner's going to make the jump. Maybe he'll make to a backup somewhere. I doubt it's going to be in Edmonton. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him traded away this year. If Holland does make some moves on goaltending. What do you guys think? I mean, do you think we've got some up and coming goalie prospects? Obviously, there's other guys in the system, but anybody that can make that jump?
I don't think so. I don't think Konovalov's an NHL caliber goalie to take the reins and be a starter. I think he could be a decent backup. You don't see many goalies in the NHL 6 foot or under. Halak, a couple of guys, maybe Saros in Nashville. Skinner was in junior was average to above average. And it wasn't until he was traded to a powerhouse WHL team that he actually put up decent numbers. And it honestly wasn't until last year in the AHL that he put up decent numbers. And I think the AHL was pretty watered down last year because all the taxi squads were holding the best AHL players. You had guys like Bouchard, and every team's two best players were up with the NHL. So I think that Skinner's not going to be that type of goalie. I saw him play some junior, and I just think he's not built for the NHL. I think we make a move in the off season. Cap space will come up for some of our LTIR contracts, as well as, what is it, Sakara's maybe is free, or Lucic, I can't remember.
Yeah, there's a couple coming off the books.
Plus the Koskinen comes off, and then we just go out and make a free agent move. That's my guess.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree on Konovalov. I think there's a shot he could work out. We've got actually Sekera and Lucic got an additional year left before they come off the books. But I think we're talking goaltenders, and I think when you think about stuff coming off the books, you do think about the Koskinen contract, which is a bit of a boat anchor just for how well he's played. What do you guys think, Ryan? What's your thought on the goaltending prospects?
I think it's probably a little early to be making final calls on those two. I think there's potential for it to go either way. I'm really intrigued by Konovalov for sure. It's also valid that he's under 6 foot, and it's rare that those types of players succeed in today's NHL. Skinner's got the size, but Dash had a lot of really good points too. This is why I was really upset when we traded back. When we had the opportunity to sprint to the stage to pick Jesper Wallstedt in the draft this year. Yeah. Now, he wouldn't have been ready in the next 2-3 years, but he would have been ready to go by the time David and Draisaitl's contracts end, right? So that might have been very helpful. And he has the potential to be a franchise goaltender. I can't say the same about Konovalov or Skinner.
Yzerman and Holland got a lot of eyes in Sweden, and both of those guys passed on him. I got to trust those guys. There's got to be something up with
Wallstedt. And
I truly believe that.
He never went as high as everybody thought he'd go, right? Like that.
I can't disagree with Ryan. I think exactly what he said is true. There's got to be something up there. Those two guys don't pass on a goalie like that.
It's totally fair. I think there's that stigma of we shouldn't draft a goalie in the first round. I think there was a lot of that happening. But
Yzerman still took Casa. He was clearly okay to take a goalie in the first round, and he skipped the guy that played in Sweden under his scout's eyes. So
yeah, totally fair. I mean, I've only watched Wallstedt play in one little juniors, so I don't have a ton of intel on him. But,
ditto. It'll be 2020 vision. Will be interesting to see how that one turns out, because this will be one of those scrutinized draft picks like the Barzell pick and such.
Oh yeah.
Well, we got a guy that's going to be making a run for a Calder this year, and Spencer Knight as a goaltender. Right, I mean, there are guys out there that can make the jump and can be good.
We've seen more of it in the last couple of years than we have in a long time.
Yeah.
Anybody the Rangers touches, really?
Yeah.
Well, honestly,
no doubt. Yeah, Durst, your thoughts?
Yeah, Skinner's last game there. I mean, we didn't exactly dress a very stellar lineup in the last preseason game, and I thought he held his own. So, I'm not going to write the guy off, but I don't think him or Konovalov make the jump, next season to be a starting goalie in the NHL. I don't see that. I think, some more time playing professional hockey in North America will serve both of them well, but I don't see them jumping into a starting role. And honestly, I think if we're going to improve next year over this year, Mike Smith has to go from the starting goalie in the Edmonton Oilers franchise to the backup. So that delays those two, I think, another year. And we got to search for, a true number one legit, and that's going to come via trade. So you might have to lose one of those two guys in that to make that happen.
Well said.
We got Jason says Skinner's an Edmontonian. I believe he'll do whatever it takes to be number 1 or 2 with the Oil. You know what? That's something to be said about that, but we'll see.
You do whatever it takes. It doesn't mean it's enough.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, you're 100% right on that. There's a lot of comments, guys. Sorry I can't get to all of you. I think we're about to wrap it up, so I'm just going to say my kind of final words. I'm going to let you go, Durst, and you, Dash, and Ryan, you're going to end with the final words tonight. You haven't been on the show since we started the Heavy Hockey Network, and I do want to say, because this is kind of a big thing. This is our first season preview as part of the Heavy Hockey Network. I wish Eric Friesen could have been here, and Zane and Spencer and Boomer Mevs, who's doing some of the media. Really, really thankful for this opportunity to do the Heavy Hockey Network and some of the fun things we've got planned. For those that don't get to see in behind the scenes, these guys have some great ideas. I usually don't take them, and I take my own. But other than that, no, I steal a little bit of everybody's ideas, and we have a lot of fun. My last words in terms of the season preview is I think the Oilers. I think this is kind of like the cusp year, and we see whether or not this team is actually going to do something. And I really feel like if they don't, turn a legitimate corner this year, then there's a big problem, and something needs to change, whether it's Tippett, or Holland or whichever. I'm not a big fan of Tippett's, and I'm also, we didn't talk about it tonight, but I'm not a huge fan of this idea about playing Draisaitl and McDavid together, whether it's on home ice or away or whatever.
Really?
I'd love to see this. I'd love to see them open it up, and you know what? I'm all for putting those two together if it means something in a game where you're down and you need to rack up the points. But anyway, we'll see. And obviously, we don't get to choose who gets to do what, and maybe Tippett's got the right idea, and time will tell. I mean, obviously, those guys can put up big points, and I'm just curious whether or not we'll get the performance out of the other lines when those guys are playing together, and time will tell, though. So that's that. Dursey, your final words?
Well, I was tempted almost to make my dark horse team the Edmonton Oilers, because I think we could surprise a lot of people this year. I think the changes that have been made to the forward group really catapult this team into a different stratosphere that we haven't been in for a long time. I do think our back end has marginally actually improved. A lot of people think it's worse, but I'm not there. I think, after a few games, that second pairing is going to show that they can tread water and do all right. And Tyson Barrie's, not going to get dogged as much this year as he did years, the last year, because Duncan Keith's here and he's the new whipping boy. I don't know. I'm excited to see them go tomorrow night, and hopefully we do one of these at the end of the year. And I was proven wrong with who the cup winner that I picked was, and it's us. But let's get going tomorrow.
All right, thanks for that, Dursa. Dash, you're up. Your final words.
Also excited for tomorrow. I think puck drop's going to be exciting this year to see what we put together. That forward group is something to behold. That power play is going to be fun to watch. I think we can have another conversation. I'm all for 97 and 29 playing together, to be honest. I think that's the closest thing to a guaranteed goal that you can have. So I'm all for that. I think this is our cusp year, and that we don't quite get there, and it's a better year next year.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for that, Dash. And Ryan, so here's how it works. You get the last word tonight. Once you say good night, I'm putting the end screen on, and we're all going to shut up. And hopefully you guys stay around for a second or two on the call, and we can chat once we put us offline. But I'm going to wait till you say good night before I shut her down. Ryan, you're up.
Okay, perfect. That is kind of echoing what everyone else is saying. The time is now, right? We've been waiting this is year 7 of Connor McDavid, and we're still just trying to get our feet wet in the playoffs. This is the year that we need to emerge as true Stanley Cup contenders. in order for things to be. Otherwise, heads are rolling. If things aren't happening this year, Tippett will be first to go. Holland gets one coaching change if it comes down to that. But really hoping it doesn't come down to that. I think there'll be some bumps in the road this year. I think we'll struggle against top teams, but we'll get a couple under our belt to make us think, hey, okay, maybe we can do this next year. Right? I already said next year that the Oilers are going to win the division, and I'll stand by that. But I think this time next year, the Oilers are going to be one of the top Stanley Cup picks. Absolutely. So it's an exciting season for sure, but tempering expectations for now.
Yep.
But anyway, that's
bringing
all
you hockey, bringing it heavy.
Yeah, let's go. Let's get this season started. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's been a blast, and I look forward to bringing you more content with the Heavy Hockey Network this year, as I always do. And with that, thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.